Welcome to the final part of episode 16. Sony and Marvel are going to be rebooting Spider-Man for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've been breaking down everything from the villains to the love interests to who should be punching and pounding those two, respectively.
Giggity.
Casting ideas was in part 4. We are in part 5, the final section that we're going to have here, because we can't do this all day. But that's essentially, we had broken down what they should start off with. Now we're going to get into where they should go from the future. There have been talks that they still, for some reason, want to do a Venom spin-off movie and a Sinister Six movie. And I'm going to say right now, if you do a Venom movie, okay. Like, I like Venom and I like Carnage. They're two of my favorite comic book characters ever. Like, outside of Spider-Man or in Spider-Man. But it's unnecessary. You don't need to do a spinoff. You can do the two of them in one Spider-Man movie, and it'll be fine. But you cannot do a Sinister Six movie. Do you think that that's an option? Or are you in the same boat as I am, where they probably saw the plans for Suicide Squad and thought, shit, we should do that before they get a chance to?
I think they had Sinister Six as an idea before DC. Because, I mean, DC, up until this point, when they made Man of Steel, they didn't even have a cinematic universe planned. They literally made Man of Steel and went, a lot of people liked that movie. Let's make a cinematic universe. At least, like, with Marvel, they kind of had their shit together from day one. They may not have known every single thing they were going to do since Iron Man 1, but they had a pretty good idea. Sony, they keep saying they have a plan, but then things keep happening. I'm going to say they had the Sinister Six before DC had the Suicide Squad. But I'm going to put a little asterisk on that and say the only reason they want to do the Sinister Six still is because not only Suicide Squad, but Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Now, of course, this is speculation. So,
right.
You know, but at the same time, knowing what I know from documentaries and from just people talking about the way that these things go, I'm 100% convinced this all started back a couple years ago, where they went, look, Spider-Man makes us a lot of money. How can we take what Marvel's doing, where they've got a lot of movies that are all tied together, and make as many movies as possible based off of Spider-Man, and just make as much money as possible? And they probably went through and they went, okay, look, we've got Spider-Man. We can keep doing Spider-Man movies. We can do a spin-off movie of Venom, because we've been talking about this for years. What are some other things we can do? And then they got into the idea of, well, we can give Black Cat her own movie. And we can do a Sinister Six movie, because people might recognize that name. And we can do an Aunt May fucking movie. And, like, you know, they probably went through and they saw...
That was literally somebody smoking salvia, and they're, like, throwing darts at a dartboard, and they're like, Aunt May. There you go, man.
Right.
Like, you guys remember when she was in that movie with the guy with the car? That was a good movie.
Like, I guarantee that had to have been it.
Yeah.
And if they would have had other characters other than Spider-Man, they probably would have done the same thing. If they would have had the Batman series under their control, they would have went, look, let's do a Nightwing spinoff, let's do a Batgirl spinoff, let's do a Deathstroke movie, let's do a Robin movie, let's do an Outsiders movie instead of Sinister Six, let's do a Birds of Prey movie. They probably would have went through the exact same thing. Let's do a solo Joker movie. Because Marvel wanted to do this too. They wanted to do that Magneto film. And there was talk about a Cyclops film.
Yeah, and that turned into First Class.
Right. Like, they got this broad-ranged idea and then went, you know what? Not really as good. Let's kind of crunch it all back together and make one good movie instead of a couple shitty ones. And there was going to be X-Men Origins for a lot of people.
Right. I remember that.
But thankfully they thought better of that idea. They introduced that into First Class, and then look what you got out of it. a good First Class movie, an even better Days of Future Past, and you revitalized the series. Like,
Yeah.
instead of tanking it downhill like you did with X-Men Origins Wolverine and X-Men 3. But Sinister Six is a series where, to me, they can't exist on their own. Like, Suicide Squad is basically, let's take some shitty side villains that are kind of on the good side, kind of on the bad side, enough that we can play with it. I mean, Deadshot's not a hero.
Right.
You know, but
none of them are heroes.
They are contract killer type of people that aren't the murderous psychopath people like the Joker and stuff.
Right. It's usually the weapon that somebody purchases to go and do something. Which there has been times where some of the villains have been hired to do a good service, and they did it.
Yeah. And there's a long-running history of the Suicide Squad in the comics, too. Like, this isn't something that, like the Sinister Six, they haven't had this reputation of being able to go do good things.
They've always been kill Spider-Man.
Right. They get together.
The Sinister Six, just like every other team-up, has had many different people on their roster. Right. Usually because they die, but...
And it's like, it's in the title. They are the Sinister Six.
Right.
But Suicide Squad doesn't inherently mean evil. Neither does Task Force X. Right. It's just, you are on a suicide mission, and you're a squad.
Yeah.
You are Sinister Six. You're evil motherfuckers. And...
we are forcing you to do something good.
I'm really hoping that... I mentioned this before, and I'll kind of backtrack a little bit and mention again. We don't need to have a trilogy anymore. We had our trilogy. We had a trilogy essentially with Iron Man that they're continuing now, and they're proving that you can get more than 3 movies out of something. You don't need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right. And some characters, like the Suicide Squad, you can have those characters, depending upon how the film is going to go, pop up in other movies, and maybe have, like, not a direct sequel, but have a second Suicide Squad film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people forget, the second movie does not have to be a direct sequel.
Right.
You can have Suicide Squad, and they're going to go, say, capture the Joker, or try to kill the Joker. Then have, like, 5 or 6 years of DC films come out. And maybe you do, like, another Suicide Squad with a little tag on it, like Suicide Squad, the blank mission, just whatever the fuck that would be called. But then it's just the Suicide Squad.
They're all shooting guns with blanks.
It could be them going after somebody like Deathstroke.
Yeah. Hell, you could have Deathstroke lead the team and have a brand new set of team members.
Right.
Total spin-off kind of thing. But you can't, with Sinister Six, build a movie around them being the good guys and have them be the bad guys in Spider-Man.
Right.
And that knocks out 6 characters that you could use in the Spider-Man series.
Which is really scary, because a lot of times when we hear that we're going to get a movie about a bad guy or a villain or something like that, typically they're on screen and it's like, oh, well, they're kind of redeemable and you kind of like them. Like Maleficent.
Mm-hmm.
Maleficent is a villain, but she was portrayed in that movie like the victim who meant good, but then because of the things about her was forced into evil. Like, no, I want to see killers, rapists, arsonists forced to go do something the entire time. Like, I want Deadshot, that entire movie, to just be waiting and waiting for, like, the right moment where he can take the kill shot on Amanda Waller. They should want to kill their handler. They shouldn't just be like, okay, yeah, we're going to go do this mission for you. They're literally being made to do this.
Right.
And the entire time, they should be looking for the out to go wreak havoc. That's what I want to see.
I want to see, like, a varying level of them. Like, somebody like Captain Boomerang. There's been an incarnation that's been heroic in the comics, and then there's been the horrible bastard. So it kind of depends on what they're going with. I think they're going with Digger Harkness, and he's just a bastard. So, you can make him more of a dick than Deadshot. Like, Deadshot can be more like, look, I'm just a contract guy. I do what I'm told. I've killed people. Yeah, it's bad, but you know what? I needed to make money, and I'll kill more if I need to make money and stuff. But I might have a little bit of a moral code. And then there's somebody like the Joker who doesn't,
Right. Well, Joker has never been a member of the Suicide Squad.
Right.
The fact that he's in it, the theory is he's either going to be like Hannibal Lecter, and they like go to him for advice, or he's going to be the one the Suicide Squad's going after.
Right. So when you try to apply that model to Sinister Six, none of them should have any redeeming qualities.
Right.
And none of them really have, great personalities to begin with. Like, are you going to do Vulture as, like, the funny one?
Right.
No. Are you going to do Dr. Octopus as the guy who you kind of root for? He's the protagonist? I don't want to see that fucking goofy-looking bastard be the guy I'm rooting for. He's an asshole. Like, he, was Peter Parker and took over his fucking life and the superior issues and stuff. Like,
right.
I think you got to go just look. If you want to do Sinister Six, you got to do them as the villains in Spider-Man. You can't have a solo film.
The problem is if you do a solo film of them without Spider-Man, what the hell are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole point of them is they're banding together to kill him.
Right.
And then if they do band together and it's focused on them and they're the main characters, but Spider-Man is in there, then why isn't it just a Spider-Man movie?
Yeah, and you're not supposed to be rooting against Spider-Man.
Right.
And if they're fighting another villain, then that's 7 villains you've taken away from future Spider-Man movies.
Right.
And if you go,
why would the villains be fighting another villain when literally, like I said, the point of the Sinister Six is to kill Spider-Man. They're not there like, let's form a team to take over the world, or let's form a team to like destroy New York City, or let's form a team to go rob these banks. Their purpose is Spider-Man's demise. So what else are they going to be doing?
Right. I can't think of a single situation where this works out, because I've even heard people go, well, you don't need to use the big important ones. And then if you're going to use the shitty villains like the Beatles and Jack-o'-lanterns and stuff, I don't want to fucking see them in a movie. Like,
right. Put a bullet in Chameleon's head and be done with it.
Right. Like, I can't think of a single way that this movie works, so I hope that this is a situation where Sony is just, like, spitting a bunch of venom out. Oh, shit, I didn't even think about that. I was like, what are you saying for? They're just, like, throwing out ideas, and they're trying to make it seem like this deal with Marvel, be like, look, guys, we really don't know what we're doing. We'll work with you guys, but we had so many plans, and we were going to make so much money, and you guys really need to give us a big cut, because you're going to screw us out of this movie, and this movie, and this movie, and they're basically talking up the sale. When it comes down to Kevin Feige and all them, I really hope that they have a good enough sense that they go, look, guys, can you drop this fucking Sinister Six movie? Like, we can do a Venom one. Okay.
Right.
But you can't even do a Black Cat movie. Like, there were people that you're not a huge fan of the Bond series, but
I like Bond, but like,
yeah, you're not like I am,
not like you are.
Yeah, where you're like, oh yeah, that gadget in the one movie is from whatever, and like, But are you familiar with the Jinx Jordan character from Die Another Day that Halle Berry played?
She wasn't the Bond girl, right?
No, she was the Bond girl.
Oh, she was? No, then I'm not familiar with her.
That movie followed the same pattern of a lot of them. Bond movies are very formulaic, and that's one of the reasons why they're awesome. But there's almost always 2 to 3 Bond girls in each movie, and there's the one that typically ends up being bad or gets killed, or both. Then there's the one that's like the one that he bangs in the end. A lot of them tend to be somebody who he works with in some capacity because they're another agent or something.
Uh-huh.
Like there was in Man with the Golden Gun, there's Mary Goodnight, because they all have stupid ass names.
Okay.
And she in the books was like a secretary essentially, and in the movie she's more of like a she's more than a secretary, but she is not a full agent. Like, she doesn't know how to do shit in the movie, but she's kind of like a go-between, sort of.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing with Strawberry Fields in Quantum of Solace. And in the Die Another Day movie, Halle Berry's character is an actual NSA agent, just working with America.
Okay.
You know, teams up with Bond, gets to have her own fight scene, kills the other Bond woman, who is Rosamund Pike, who kicks ass in Gone Girl, and she better win Best Actress. Side notes aside, after that movie came out, people were going, they're going to give Jinx her spin-off movie. And we're going to have, like, you know, the female James Bond series with Jinx Stewart.
For just a second when you said Jinx, I thought you meant the DC villain. And I was like, why?
No, the Pokemon. But people were clamoring for that. And they were like, let's have, you know, the female James Bond spin-off. It never came into fruition because it was just something that people just talk about. You know, they're going to do a spin-off of this and they're going to do a spin-off of that. And we're going to get a Cyclops movie and we're going to get a Jean Grey movie and a Nightcrawler movie. No, we're not. You know?
Right. And we shouldn't get all of them.
No, because you know what happens?
They're great in the comics, but they're not interesting on film.
You know what? That's the thing. When you do a spin-off movie in the film universes and stuff, it's not the same as in the comics. So you can do, you know, a one-shot Catwoman movie, one-shot Catwoman comic. She could have her own series in the comics. But you do a Catwoman movie, it bombs.
Right.
You could do a mini-series dedicated to the backstory and some big story that deals with Elektra Nachios. Anybody go see that fucking Elektra movie that likes it? No. And the same applies with Sinister Six, I think. You can't do a spin-off Sinister Six thing. You can probably pull off a Venom one.
I can see Venom because you could always have Venom versus Carnage.
Yeah, and he's got the Lethal Protector thing where you can have him be the anti-hero who's struggling to figure that out and stuff. The bad part about it is you have to introduce Venom into Spider-Man before you do that. Because he can't be Venom and, you know, without Spider-Man.
Right.
So, to me, you don't do either of these. If you do any of them in the future, you do Venom, but you do that down the line. And if you're not going to do a rated R Venom movie where you've got Carnage killing people and stuff like that, then you know what? If you're going to do it PG-13 anyway, just do a PG-13 Spider-Man movie with Venom and Carnage. And
they were also planning on doing a female-led Spider-Man movie.
That too. Like, you can't do a Black Cat movie. Who's she going to be up against?
And the regular movie-going audience, it doesn't matter how popular Jessica Drew is. You can't do Spider-Woman. Because everyone's going to look at that like it's just a girl Spider-Man.
It's the same as Supergirl and Superman.
Right.
It's, by the way, why the fuck is Supergirl getting a TV show? Like, god damn it. I don't understand why everybody loves Supergirl so much.
Nah.
She's just a stupid-ass character in my mind. Same for Superboy.
Give me Power Girl.
Even Power Girl. Like, I don't want to see any of that.
I mean, I'd see Power Girl over Kara. But
I'll even argue Tim Drake and Jason Todd shouldn't have even really existed to begin with. Like, you know, that's taking it to a more extreme, but Supergirl, Superboy, you know, they don't need their own spinoffs, and you don't need a Black Cat movie. You don't need a What If Gwen Stacy was Spider-Woman movie, or, you know, I'll tell you a comic that I never read. Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane. That whole thing.
I'm not even familiar with it.
That side thing that they've had where it's all just like romance stuff. And Superman Loves Lois Lane too. Like, I ain't gonna read that kind of crap. Anything that's built around, let's just give somebody a spinoff for the sake of a spinoff. No, you can't do that. Like, I'll even argue I love Nightwing. Nightwing is an awesome character. Dick Grayson is without a doubt the best Robin and stuff. But you know what? The people that really want a Nightwing movie, you know, who would he end up facing? Like,
right.
It's difficult to figure out. And if I can't figure out a way to do a Nightwing movie, I damn sure can't figure out a way to do a Sinister Six or a Black Cat movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be okay with, like, if you introduce Black Cat and she's, been built up in a movie or something like that, you could have her guest star on Daredevil and have her involved with Kingpin. Like, you can get more mileage out of these characters. You don't need to do spin-off movies. What would you like to see, though, when it comes to how they fold them into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and just Spider-Man movies in the future? Do you want them to do just a bunch of Spider-Man movies and keep them going as often as possible? Or do you want to see, like, take breaks every once in a while or recast people?
Here's the problem. Right now, only things that we know are that we are going to see a new Spider-Man in a movie before a solo movie, July 28th, 2017. That's literally all we know. Which means, it's even though it's obvious to us, there's only 2 movies, well, 4 movies technically, that come out before that July 28th, 2017 movie. You got Captain America, not Captain America, you got Avengers Age of Ultron. It's already done filming, and I doubt, even though some people think it's going to happen, I don't think we're going to see a post-credit scene with Spider-Man.
Nah. We're going to get Captain Marvel, if anything, or something. Actually, we're going to get Black Panther, if anything.
I actually thought we were going to see a setup for Thor Ragnarok.
That's true, we could get that.
Yeah. But then we're going to get Ant-Man. No reason to have Spider-Man. Then we're going to see Captain America's Civil War, based on a comic book series in which Spider-Man was a main character.
What if we do, by the way, get something with Ant-Man, where there's, like, the post-credit sequence is an ant, and then a spider comes along?
That's it. That's the setup for Spider-Man. There's literally just an ant, and then a spider eats it.
Yeah, he just eats it, and you just hear nom 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 nom, and then he's just kind of like, yeah, Spider-Man, guys. Like,
then you hear Paul Rudd go, wait, I wanted to change my name from Ant-Man, and now there's Spider-Man?
They just have Paul Rudd walk into the shot, break the fourth wall, and go, guys, I'm sorry about Ant-Man. This kind of sucks. But Spider-Man's coming, so how about that? Don't leave Marvel, please.
Don't leave the theater yet, guys.
Yeah.
But then after that, you've got Doctor Strange, which he's a new hero. There's no reason to muddle his story and his origin and his villains with a random Spider-Man. So I feel like Spider-Man is definitely going to be in Civil War. So we're going to get him in Civil War. Then we're going to get him in a solo movie. And that's really it for now. There actually hasn't been any deals, anything on the table, anything announced about him in other movies. We literally could be speculating on things that won't happen. Because I don't know, like, nothing was, I don't think, written legally. I don't think there's anything that says Marvel, like, people seem to think Marvel has Spider-Man back. No, they don't. They get to use him in the MCU, but so far that's only for one movie.
Right.
And then they're going to help with the spin-off, the solo film, which I've been thinking about this. Has anyone even said that the solo Spider-Man movie is in the MCU?
Oh, yeah, I think that they announced that it is.
Did they? Because in the original press release, sure, it's been assumed, but I haven't really heard about Spider-Man being amongst the MCU films. Which it has to be, because it's going to exist within the cinematic universe.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't heard Marvel talk about that movie like it's going to be one of theirs. I don't know. But if that's the case, then Sony could just do whatever the heck they want. But then it would confuse people as to why there are 2 different Spider-Man characters, and why you had to get rid of Andrew Garfield if Sony's Spider-Man is different.
Right.
But I don't know. What even was your original question at this point?
What it boils down to is, where do you think that they should go in the future? Do you think that this should just be another series that keeps going the way that they've been doing with the other ones? Or, do you keep going even after Avengers Infinity War Part 2? Like, I'm still saying immediately, Infinity War Part 2, even though they've got Inhumans, which comes after it, which makes no sense to me right now.
Right.
Hopefully they aren't just like, we'll figure it out, that they have a plan. But to me, maybe that is a big reboot, kind of thing or something.
I thought they were going to soft reboot it, where they recast some of their original characters and they completely redo it. But then I thought, why would you introduce Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Inhumans right at the end where you're literally about to reboot?
Right.
That doesn't make sense. I figured if they're not going to do a reboot, which they could, I mean, the Infinity Gauntlet can rewrite reality. But if they're not going to do that, I assume they're going to go with the Illuminati. And we're not going to see Robert Downey Jr. often because he's going to take one of the gems and just go off and do his own thing.
Maybe. Or maybe they'll just use that as an excuse to recast but keep the characters going still.
Right. Like, that might be the end of some of the actors' contracts, but the same characters will still go on and do whatever.
Right.
But it doesn't make sense to have a brand new Spider-Man in 2017, have Black Panther in 2018, Inhumans in 2019, Captain Marvel in 2018,
Doctor Strange,
and then Doctor Strange in 2017, and then in 2020 you're rebooting.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I feel like they might start doing recasts at that point, but they're just going to go... I mean, Illuminati wasn't a storyline, if I recall. It's just a group. So it's not like you're going to have an Illuminati film, right?
Right. I mean, you could kind of make a whole film about that, but...
Yeah. And I mean, it's obviously going to be different because Marvel Studios doesn't have the rights to the Submariner. They don't have the rights to Xavier. They don't have the rights to...
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four. So, obviously, it's going to be a different kind of Illuminati from the comics. But there's stuff that I think they can do. And it doesn't have to keep escalating. Like, first Avengers was citywide. Second Avengers is global. Third and fourth Avengers is galactic. That doesn't mean we have to start, like, doing other universes.
Yeah,
and stuff
multiverse.
like that. Right. They don't have to keep going grander and grander. You can then bring it down and go back to, like, street level. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to just keep getting bigger.
Right.
So, with the Spider-Man movies, the only issue that I'm going to see is the fact that they've got these Netflix series. Because you've got Daredevil, who is in Hell's Kitchen, who is right there. And you're going to have to explain now if Scorpion is tearing through Brooklyn. Why doesn't Daredevil, who's right over in Hell's Kitchen, see what's happening? Well, see. But
there you go. There's your explanation why he doesn't see what happened.
But with his super hearing, why doesn't he know what's happening and go help Spider-Man?
Right.
Why don't the Defenders at the end of this Netflix thing, why don't they jump in and help? Like, now we've reached a point where they've sort of figured it out, like, oh, well, these films happen too close together, so Captain America, that film takes place in, like, 2 to 3 days. He doesn't have time to just be like, yo, Iron Man, help me. Like, there's people trying to kill him, like, every hour. So that is explainable. But eventually, with all these heroes, you're going to hit a point where, goddamn, Doctor Strange is about to die. Why can't he call up the Avengers and be like, guys, I really need your help right about now?
Right.
So that's the only trouble I see with Spider-Man, is that you've got heroes right there in New York who are just going to disappear. And then if you have Daredevil Season 2 or Season 3, however long it's going to take before Spider-Man comes out, then why, if a building collapses in the Spider-Man movie, why don't you hear about that in Daredevil?
It's going to be tough to balance out, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it's the only problem I see with Spider-Man, is that you've got all these villains who are really powerful, and if they do too much destruction, now you're going to have to worry about all your other characters.
And then you throw Sinister Six in, and the whole thing goes crazy.
Right. Then you've got 6 powerful villains tearing through New York City. Spider-Man's off on a field trip somewhere, I guess. And Daredevil isn't jumping in there to help. Like, I don't know.
I'll tell you what, Daredevil doesn't want to see a Sinister Six movie.
He's not gonna see a Sinister Six movie.
Exactly. That's how I hope.
Yeah.
Uh,
If they do a Sinister Six movie, or if they do Spider Gwen, I might wish I was Matt Murdock.
right. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, if we start hearing more information about any of this, you guys can check fanboysanonymous.com, see if anybody feels inclined to give their opinions about that kind of stuff. If huge casting news or something like that happens, guaranteed somebody will end up jumping on it. In the future, we're going to be covering all the cinematic movies that we can. You know, we always do movie reviews for those and stuff. Later on this month, we're actually going to be doing the first of 2 different editions of the For Real Movie Club that are going to be based off of that. We're going to do the Phase 1 movies in March, and then in April we're going to do Phase 2. That'll give us a little bit of a prep to go into Age of Ultron. Then, of course, we're going to do a review point of that. Later on, we're going to shit all over Ant-Man if we need to. And, you know, eventually we're going to figure out a lot of the different answers to a lot of the questions that we proposed for this episode. So I think that's pretty much going to do us in for all the Spider-Man talk, as we did in the other parts. Make sure that you guys leave your comments below. Tell us what you think. Casting decisions, villains, love interests, Peter Parker, Miles Morales. What do you think is going to happen in the future? Anything you guys want to say about Spider-Man, leave your comments below. We have one more thing we got to do for this, and that's just to plug some other things. We're kind of in plug mode right now. But Sam, is there anything you want to throw out there?
No, just check me out on fanboysanonymous.com. I'll be keeping you guys up to date on any Spider-Man news that pops up.
Alrighty, guys. Check out all the other podcasts that we've got going on. If you are on iTunes or Stitcher, then subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the opposite, do the opposite. Pay attention to, if you're a wrestling fan, smarkoutmoment.com for anything that's going to pop up under that branch of the mango tree. Listen to the All Talk Show whenever we decide to do that podcast, because that just pops up out of nowhere. We've got the Sand and Snow podcast coming up soon on fanboysanonymous.com for you Game of Thrones people. Dace Man Show is every week, megapowersradio.com. Lots of different things that you guys can check out depending on what you're interested in. So, you know, if you're a fanboy like we are, then you're in the right spot. For Sam Lassio, I am Tony Mango. This has been another episode of the group meeting, and I think that this group meeting is adjourned. See you next time, everybody.